to a brand new hour of CBS Sports HQ presented by Penske. When you gain the right transportation partner, your business gains ground. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Chris Hassel, Brady Quinn, and Pete Prisco. It's week 17. The playoff picture is coming into focus. And Chris, you missed it. Yesterday, Brady actually had to sound the quarterback defender alarm.
That's right, on Pete Prisco.
Who were you defending?
But no, he was defending Brock Purdy, which for some reason, Brock Purdy gets the benefit of the doubt, but not every other quarterback that happens to throw four receptions.
I defend starters. You defend every backup in the league. So we got a couple more this week.
How's it worked out for the Vikings since they sat Josh Dobbs? Not well.
We got a couple more for you this week. Don't worry about it.
This week's game's a little bit different than last week. We do have that Thursday night game, Jets and Browns. We have a Saturday night game, Lions, Cowboys. We have a Sunday night game, Packers, Vikings. No Monday night game because that's New Year's. That's the college football playoff. So here is a look at those primetime games. The Browns, 7-point favorites. They can clinch a playoff spot with a victory. Lions, Cowboys, huge game between two of the top teams in the NFC. Lions, part of that three-way tie for the best record in the NFC. Packers, Vikings, pretty much an elimination game on Sunday Night Football. The winner stays in playoff contention. The loser is probably done. Speaking of losers, Pete and Brady.
What a segue, Chris.
6-11 for both of them last
But Chris, you do see what's happened since you left, right?
Pete's on top.
Yeah.
Pete's got the 2-game lead with 2 weeks to go.
But we should be hiding our faces in shame.
I thought I was in good shape heading into that San Francisco-Baltimore game with San Fran being my best pick, and boy, did that go wrong.
I thought I was in great shape early on Sunday. I had 6 games, and 3 of them went poo. Right down.
Still 2 weeks to go. Time to turn this thing around. Let's start it with Thursday Night Football. The Jets at the Browns. Cleveland 7-point favorites. They clinch a playoff spot with a win here, Brady.
It's a big number, but short week. Cleveland being the home team, okay? Trevor Siemian starting too, which I don't think when you compare to what Flacco's done in the previous 4 starts, he's going to be able to put up that sort of production. So I'm going to lay the points here. I think the under is a good play as well. I think this will be a lower scoring game. 2 really good defenses. But I'm going to lay the points here with Cleveland. What a job Kevin Stefanski and this group has done with this team. And Pete, we are on different sides to start off the week, and I love this.
I do, because one of us will be getting a text the next day or that night from the other. I like the Jets here. And for the exact reasons you mentioned, 2 good defenses. They both will show up and play. I know the Jets had some lapses last week on defense in the second half, but I do think that they will show up and play. It'll be a lower scoring game, like you said, so I'll take the points. I'll take the 7.
They better be able to run the football because I get worried about that offensive line trying to protect Trevor Siemian versus that Browns defense.
Prisco had a good game last week.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
All right, the primetime game on Saturday, we have the Lions and the Cowboys. Lions clinching the division for the first time in 30 years, and they're heading to Dallas, where we know the Cowboys are pretty good at home. Which way do you think this is going to go, Brady?
Yeah, such a drastic team when you see on the road versus at home. And where was Dallas the past 2 weeks? What were they doing? Where were they? Were they on the road the past 2 weeks?
Back-to-back roadies.
Those back-to-back roadies.
Yeah.
And so they come back home.
Didn't cover.
They did not. They did not. But
you might want to get in on that, by the way.
That worked out for me.
You.
I had Miami.
Yeah, so did I.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about there.
Well,
I like to bring up because you think it matters as much as it does. It doesn't. And the only thing that matters in this case is Dallas is at home, and they're taking on a Detroit Lions team that I think has shown some of those weaknesses, in particular in the secondary and on defense. And if they can't get pressure versus Dak Prescott, look out, because I think he's going to be able to put up a lot of points. Now, that being said, give a lot of credit to Dan Campbell and this Detroit Lions team, righting the ship, finding a way to now be a playoff team at this point in time, given what all Lions fans has gone through. But again, different animal, different team at home. Can Dallas stop the rushing attack for Detroit? If they can, they win this game. You lay the points. Don't worry about it.
You like the under. I like the over. I think this is going to be high scoring. I think it's going to go up and down the field. I think both offenses will have success. I worry about the Lions defense. It's been bad. I mean, really bad the last month of the season. They've had all kinds of problems. I think Prescott will get back on track, put up a good number. I'll take the Cowboys, and I also like the over.
Which one of these teams goes further in the playoffs?
I mean,
Dallas.
Well, Dallas better have that win the NFC East then. Because if they don't win the NFC East, I worry about them on the road as good as a team as they are and roster as they are in comparison to Detroit at home. Detroit at home also is able to take care of business. So it really comes down to who's going to have that home game once they get into the playoffs.
Yeah, right now Dallas wouldn't.
So you think Dallas goes on the road, they're one and done against the NFC South team? You think Tampa beats them? There you go.
The way Baker Mayfield's playing right now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Chalk it up. We'll put that on the card.
We'll see.
All right, again, this game is on Saturday night. Then it's Sunday night football, and this is really an elimination game. Packers at Vikings. Minnesota favored by 1.5. Jair Alexander suspended by the Green Bay Packers. They won't have him for this game. Which team survives and has a chance in the final week?
This is such a tough pick, and for so many reasons. Alexander not being a part of it when you look at the roster, what Minnesota can present at the wide receiver position, but they're going to be without T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, who's been a big piece for them. On top of that, is it going to be Mullins or Jaron Hall? Now, I don't know why Dobbs isn't in the mix for this team, because he brings an athletic element that I think they need at this point in time. Say what you want about Dobbs as far as the turnovers. That's beside the point. They need some other element to this offense because they can't run the football consistently. Maybe they can versus the Packers, but this is a Packers team that I'm banking on to get healthier this week. Jordan Love's been playing well. I think they'll be able to run the football. I'm going to go ahead and take the 1.5 here with the Packers. I don't think you need the 1.5. I think they win this game outright.
I'm surprised you took the Packers. Look, this is easy for me. I think Jordan Love, you mentioned, he's playing really good football right now, and I think he's answered the question whether he's the long-term guy at quarterback. He is. You mentioned all those injuries. He has guys in and out of the lineup all year long. He hasn't had the same group. He might get some of those guys back this week, so I'm going to take the Packers as well.
The biggest thing is, can the Packers stop the run, and can they run the football versus Minnesota? If they can do those two things, I don't think they'll have any issue in this game.
You guys have the Packers getting into the playoffs?
They have to beat, they
need to win this week, and they need to win out. Is the bottom line.
Right.
They need some help along with that. So,
yeah, but they have a chance. Yeah. I mean, they need somebody to knock off Seattle and the Rams, and they have a chance.
Now, Sportsline giving the Packers around a 30% chance to get in. Same with the Vikings because they're at home in that game, but the quarterback question might be the difference. That's what our guys think. Green Bay, the pick to win that game outright. Also agreement on the Cowboys at -6 against the Lions. They do disagree on that Thursday night game.
Welcome back to HQ, presented by Penske. We got more Week 17 picks coming your way with Brady and Pete. Checking out the Sunday games on CBS. The Jags, woof. Losing 4 in a row. That's really all I got to say, Pete. Trying to get back on track against the Panthers. We have a big AFC matchup with the Dolphins and the Ravens. Also, the Chiefs looking to bounce back against the Bengals at 4:25 Eastern on CBS. You can watch all these games on CBS or, of course, streaming on Paramount+. All right, so let's get into some of the picks for the 1 o'clock games. And, guys, we are going to talk about the Dolphins and the Ravens to kick things off. We have the #1 scoring offense in Miami and then the #1 scoring defense with Baltimore. Both of these teams control their own destiny for that 1 seed in the AFC. Pete, how do you think it's going to go down?
I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
I think Baltimore's going to win the game, but I think Miami's going to hang around in this game. Look, the Dolphins have a ton of talent. We know they can just get big plays on offense with Tyreek Hill and that gang, and so I think they're going to have success. I know Baltimore is the flavor of the week, and we know how that works. I mean, they really are. Everybody prisoner of the moment. Oh, look what they did to the 49ers. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're the greatest team around. 3 weeks ago, the Rams had them beat at their place, and the Rams moved the football up and down the field.
The Rams beat them?
No, but they lost in overtime. They lost in overtime on a punt return.
That's
remember?
Right.
And
I didn't realize we're playing horseshoes.
I think Miami will move up and down the field. Miami's not going to win the game, but they're going to keep it close. I'll take the points.
You know what, Pete? Could you do something for me?
What?
Could you break out those quarterback skills? I'm curious where the quarterback skills are in this one.
Oh, I'd take Lamar, but it's close.
Oh, it's close? Like
this
where are we at? Like pretty even?
This year
just this year?
This year.
Yeah. All right.
Got to see more.
I'm on the other side of this one. I love this bet for Baltimore. I think they're kind of rounding into the team that, I think a lot of people thought they were. They've played an extremely difficult schedule. They've blown out 7 teams with winning records by 14-plus points. Lamar Jackson is your front runner for the MVP. And I think the toughest thing about anything Vic Fangio does defensively is you can't prepare for him when things break down. And we saw that. Look, San Francisco is a good defensive team. The reality is when he wants to take off and run, when he wants to buy time, he will hurt you. And the more Todd Monken gets Zay Flowers involved in this offense, the more unstoppable they will be. Because we thought they'd miss Mark Andrews. Isaiah likely steps in. Right now, maybe you're concerned a little bit about the consistency of the running game, but the reality is this team is the best team in the NFL. Call them the flavor of the week. Call them whatever you want.
Prisoner of the moment.
And I'll gladly go ahead. Throw me in prison.
How many meals do you want? What do you want?
I love this bet. I'm laying the 3.5 points here with Baltimore at home because I also think Miami's a different team on the road. So I think this is a great spot for Baltimore to be in, try to get that #1 overall seed.
Yeah, if that happens, it's pretty much going through Baltimore in the AFC.
Well, and you might say the MVP race is a wrap.
Yeah.
That's done. I think that's the other thing on the line. If Tua wins, I think he's very much into the conversation. And then you see what Josh Allen does against the Patriots. And then we look at that Week 18 matchup. We'll all be prisoners of the moment for who should win the MVP at that point.
Well, if Tua wins, then he wins the East.
He wins the week. No, he wins the Week 17 matchup.
But he'll have won the East.
Okay, but does his stats compare to Josh Allen's? Not really.
If he wins the East and Josh Allen doesn't.
So you're just basically saying right now, if he wins, that's all he needs. He doesn't
compare to Josh Allen. Look at him. They do compare to him.
Josh Allen's are up there as good as anyone.
Are you taking one of these teams, or are you taking the Buffalo Bills, who are red hot right now? Now, pretty much a shoe-in to make the playoffs, according to Sportsline, at 93%. Remember, a few weeks ago, it was like down close to 15%, 16%. So they're basically in. They've got the Patriots at home, and potentially a chance to build on that momentum once again.
If the Dolphins lose, which I think they will, they'll cover the spread, but they're going to lose the game, then that game next week, because I think the Bills will blow out New England this week. They're playing back-to-back road games, too, by the way, New England. If they do win this week and they win, they will win next week and win the division, because Josh Allen has owned the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going to take Buffalo here. They're going to win this game easily, and that'll set the stage for what will be a great Week 18 game featuring win, and you win the division. I love that. I love that. That'll probably be the flex game on Sunday night.
I'm also going to be right there with you that they win the game. I think anytime you see an 11.5 point spread in this case, I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that too. It's a big number, though. And look, I fell victim to these big numbers divisional matchups last week. And unfortunately, the underdog went 3-4 against the number and won 2 in 2 of those cases outright. So I'm not going to fall victim again. This Patriots defense has played well. Bailey Zappi has improved as a passer for this team. I still think there are some weaknesses in this Buffalo Bills defense. And I think it's Bill Belichick, maybe his swan song as far as his last opportunity against Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills, as the head coach for the New England Patriots. So Buffalo wins this one by 10 points, but I don't think they're going to cover that number. So I'll take the 11.5.
If they hadn't played that tight game last week, I'd probably be in agreement with you. But I think that game last week against the Chargers gets them back refocused to what they need to do.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the Raiders and the Colts. Colts are 3-point favorites at home. And guys, we were just talking about this Raiders team with a huge win over Kansas City on Christmas Day. Antonio Pierce, it feels like this team has some good momentum. Brady, do you think they keep it rolling in Week 17?
I do, although this line looks fishy to me because based on what the Colts have looked like, and they're obviously still in the hunt, as is the Raiders at this point, I would think this number would be closer to 1.5, maybe 2, or at least a point down. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 3 points here in Las Vegas. I love what their defense has done. Even without Josh Jacobs, they can still run the football. Maybe the line's sitting at this number because they didn't complete a pass for the last 3 quarters against Arrowhead last week. The reality is they still won. And I think there's something to that. So I don't think it's an overreaction to the fact that you kind of had 2 crazy plays to help the Raiders get that win last week. I think it's legit. Antonio Pierce has done a great job with this team. So I'll take the 3 points, but I also think this is a lower scoring game between these two offenses.
I'm bucking the trend. I'm taking the team playing back-to-back road games in the Raiders. So I like what I've seen from them. And by the way, there's a reason I'm taking them. Look who's playing quarterback on the other side of the ball.
I knew we were going to
no. Are we keeping track of this, Jack? Do we have the
winner
last week? That's why they put his picture
Prisco
behind Pete, because Pete loves him so much.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect game for the Raiders to go in there and play really good defense. And they're playing outstanding on that side of the ball. They will get after Minshew. Minshew was not good last week. He won't be good here. I'll take the Raiders.
Pressured a little bit too.
And watch out for Max Crosby.
Well, and Kuntz as well on the other side. Everyone pays so much attention to Crosby. No one's worried about Kuntz on the other side. Gets 3 sacks last week.
Yeah, I love what the Raiders are doing. I think and we said this yesterday, they need to keep Antonio Pierce, period.
And it's still very much alive. If they win this game, they will have a chance in the final week to get to the postseason. You got those 3 teams in the AFC South all playing in that time frame that are tied atop the division at 8-7. We'll get to the Jags in just a second, but let's go Titans, Texans. Houston favored by 3.5 at home. Expecting C.J. Stroud to play. He's expected to be back at practice in that concussion protocol.
Yeah, otherwise, I don't know why the number is at 3.5 at this point, and we've seen it even float up in some books up to 4.5. So clearly they're anticipating him coming back, and he gives them the best chance of them winning and having a shot at still making the playoffs at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the points here with the Houston Texans. I like what I've seen from the defense in stopping the run, and I'm a little bit concerned, too, about the offensive line trying to protect Ryan Tannehill. He got beat up last week. Not saying necessarily the Texans are the best at doing that, but there's a good chance that could happen this week, too.
Levis might be back.
To whoever is quarterback.
Levis might be back. This would be the first of those two going head-to-head. And remember, they didn't play each other a couple weeks ago when he was out, and the Texans still won. I think Levis will play well here. I don't like what I've seen from the Texans defense lately. I think there's going to be opportunity to stay in the game. Texans will win, but it's closer than the number. I'll take the Titans plus the points.
Okay.
On the other side, I like that. I like the differences we have.
I love this.
Me too. I'm going to have a winning week for once.
This.
All right, let's see where you guys are at on the Panthers and the Jags. Jags are 7-point favorites here, and we talked about it yesterday, Pete. Trevor Lawrence, he is banged up. They just signed Matt Barkley, so that could be the guy under center as the Jags are trying to fight to get in the playoffs.
He turned him down, by the way, so they went and got Matt Barkley.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So, I don't know. You'd think this could be a get-right game for the Jags, but I don't know. This team just looks terrible, Pete.
They're bad right now. It's a bad team, and you know, there's a variety of reasons for it, including the poor play of the offensive line. The receivers don't get open. Trevor Lawrence is getting beat to hell. We don't know if he's going to play or not. So that means C.J. Beathard, he's not very good. Defensively, they don't stop anybody. Carolina's a bad team. Jacksonville will win the game, but they shouldn't be laying 7 points to anybody right now, the way they're currently constructed.
Yeah, again, a kind of a fishy number considering what the Carolina Panthers have done so far this season. I look at this game, though, and I'm anticipating Lawrence doesn't play, even though the line kind of looks like maybe it's baked in there a little bit. But this defense has a hard time stopping anyone when they don't get turnovers. Maybe that's what you're expecting, too, from this case. But Carolina's been improved offensively. Bryce Young is starting to kind of find himself with some moments in the game. I think the defense has been playing better. So this is a number, again, I think it's just too big at this point. Carolina's got some momentum. Again, not necessarily the results always coming with it, but it's been much better the past couple of weeks compared to what we saw in the season. So I'll take the 7 points.
All right, that's the AFC South, which at this point is a three-way tie. Go to the NFC South. We could have a three-way tie in the final week of the season if the Saints go in and cool off Baker Mayfield and the Bucs, but Tampa a home favorite here.
Yeah, he's playing phenomenal right now. Again, another guy we talked about, Antonio Pierce and Champ Kelly, take off the interim, just make those guys the head coach and the general manager moving forward. Make Baker Mayfield your quarterback moving forward. He looks phenomenal. He's healthy, playing the best football of his career. Defensively, too, they've been able to hold up just enough, and I think that's what this one comes down to is if the Buccaneers defense shows up. I'm going to lay the 3 points, but it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm expecting Baker Mayfield at home to take care of business and continue to push forward for an NFC South division title.
Here's a good question as we get ready for this game. Which one had the better quarterback acquisition in the offseason?
Well, for the money, Mayfield, it's not even close.
No doubt about it. And he's played better than him, too, by the way. Forget about the money. Put the money aside. He's played better than Derek Carr. And so I think they got the better end of that. We are looking at a team that has gone into Tampa and won 4 or 5. They've had success playing in Tampa. The Saints have. It's weird they have. But I'm going with the Bucs as well. I think Mayfield's better than Derek Carr right now. And I think he's playing better than Derek Carr.
I think if you looked at before the season, too, the expectations were the Saints where they should run away with this division. Probably the heaviest favorite of any team heading into the season. They've been 4-10-1 against the number. On the flip side, kind of some uncertainty about Tampa. 10-5 against their spread so far this year. So kind of betting trend-wise, I think we've underestimated just how good this Tampa Bay Bucs team can be against the number.
And if they win this, the Bucs, they clinch the division.
Yeah, another team in the mix there in the NFC South. The Falcons, they're barely holding on. Taylor Heineke giving this team a little bit of life in Week 16. But they're going against the Bears. Bears are 3-point favorites. Brady, how do you think this one goes?
Yeah, I'm laying the points here with the Bears. I don't trust the Falcons right now on the road in those conditions. I think Fields' mobility and making some big plays at big time moments have kept them in this, but their defense too has improved mightily. So I think the Bears defense, that ground game with Herbert, Fields, that combination is enough to cover this number.
I'm with you. I love what the Bears are doing in terms of their young players getting better and better. If you're a Bears fan, and I know you are, you should be excited about next year because I think big time improvement, no matter what they do at quarterback, if it's Caleb Williams or they keep Justin Fields and draft guys around them, this team is getting better. I think that's starting to show up. It'll show up here. Yeah, Heineke had his game. Here you go. Have a great game. Come off the bench. But we know he's going to turn. You are who you are. You're going to turn into who you are, and they will win the game. The Bears cover the number.
Last 4 games, the Bears defense has been lights out.
They're really good.
Haven't allowed
How about Montez Sweat leads the Commanders?
Almost.
The Commanders and the Bears in sacks. Think about that.
Wow.
It is wild. All right, let's go to the Rams and the Giants. Now, this is a Rams team. They started 3-6. What a job Sean McVay has done. If they win this game, they can almost guarantee themselves a playoff spot.
Always so tough for West Coast teams coming all the way across the country to the East Coast and playing on the road, especially when they're a favorite. And you've got 3 of 4 teams in the NFC West, the Rams being one of them. The only one that's not is Seattle, who gets Pittsburgh at home. So tough spot, big number. And this was a number when I looked at it, I was thinking to myself, don't buy into it, because Tyrod Taylor provided that spark last week for the Giants offense. And I think with his mobility and athleticism, it could present the Rams defense some issues. But I feel like the Rams are on the cusp of doing something here to get to the postseason. They can't afford to lose. And I think they're going to showcase just how good they are offensively versus a defense that showcase some of its weaknesses. So I'm laying the 6.5 points. It's unfortunate that I think the Tommy DeVito era is done and over with. The Paisan passion is
forever, by the way, probably.
Not forever.
And it has dropped, Brady. It's down to 4.5 now.
And which I love. And I'll gladly lay the 4.5.
But we're picking it at 6.5. Don't tell anybody.
No, that's not true. It's a 4.5 on the screen.
Jack says he's updated it.
And that's come down 2 points with the news of Tyrod Taylor. So it goes to show you what the market thinks about him as the starting quarterback.
Yeah, and I like the Giants in this spot. I think a field goal game is in play here. Like you mentioned, for every reason you laid out right in the beginning. Long trip. You know, you're playing a team that's, has some talent on defense. I know that they can get after the quarterback. So I'm gonna take the points here. I think the Rams win, but again, too many. I really loved it at 6.5, but I'll take it at 4.5.
This is gonna be a tough one. If I come back and lose this week, I will look at and circle this game as the one that stood out the most.
If I lose this game and it's at 5, then I'm gonna be angry. But
no, I'm gonna text you though.
Okay.
All right, this next matchup is a pretty big number. You have the Niners and the Commanders. The Commanders benching Sam Howell for Jacoby Brissett. Is this number too big considering the performance we saw from Brock Purdy, Pete, or does it sound right to you?
No, this is a get-right game for the 49ers. And are you benching him to protect him, or are you benching him because Brissett came in and gave you a lift after the game? I think there's a little bit of both at play there. But if you bench him for his performance, then you've made the decision you're going to find a quarterback next year, and Sam Howell is done. But whoever plays quarterback, this is a bad spot for them because you get a team coming off a game on Sunday night that they're going to be ready to play. They blow them out.
Look, the offense has had a lull the past couple of weeks, and it hasn't been what we thought, maybe past 3 games. And so they found a spark in Jacoby Brissett. I don't think they're protecting them. I just think they're trying to find ways of winning football games. And it really calls into question, ultimately, who makes this decision. Is it Ron Rivera? Is it above him? And maybe is it ownership saying, hey, we want to see what we've got on our roster. Let's see what we've got in Jacoby Brissett. We'd like to win down the stretch. So either way, I think, look, Washington was always going to be on a quarterback after this season. That's just my personal belief with new ownership and potentially a new head coach based on how this all pans out. But the reality is, for me, it's a huge number, but I'm with Pete. I think this is a get-right game. I think San Francisco is not going to suffer 5 interceptions like we saw last week. They'll take better care of the football, and hopefully they feed Christian McCaffrey. Give this young man 15 or more carries. We see the results with that. Anything less than that, they've got a losing record. So feed that man. He's the most valuable team on your offense.
And, Brock Purdy's MVP chances, Christian McCaffrey's MVP chances really taking a hit with that loss, but everything is still out there. They still have that positioning for the #1 overall seed. Philadelphia Eagles are part of that 3-way tie for that #1 spot in the NFC. Even though they snapped that losing streak last week, still major issues over there.
Major issues, but also some freak accident sort of things too. When you think about the return, running into your own guy, and those sort of mistakes are outliers. They don't happen very often. I think my biggest concern is the inability to contain Tyrod Taylor and some of the big plays that came from that. And clearly, with a player like Kyler Murray, he has the ability to hurt you with his legs, but also create time to find those bigger plays downfield. And we talked all year about how the secondary has struggled. So, look, I'm going to lay the points here at the Eagles. I think this team in Arizona has not been the same off since the bye. And I think that's going to be the difference where we're talking about this offense now with Hurts as a part of the running attack, running the football better, creating some more big plays. It's a big number. I'm willing to lay the points.
Jonathan Gannon knows that offense pretty well, and I think that's an advantage for Arizona here. And I think the number's bloated. I don't think the Eagles are that good. I mean, they've won a lot of games, close games, but they haven't blown a lot of people out. And they haven't looked good.
Sportsline ranks them as the 7th best team in the league.
They haven't looked good. I mean, even last week against the Giants, they did not look good. There were a lot of running lanes.
Come back in that game.
There were a lot of running lanes. Their secondary got hit over the top late in the game. Blankenship looked like he was playing in concrete. I will take the points here. It's too many.
It looked like Blankenship didn't think he was going to throw that ball.
No, he went right over the top of his head.
Yeah.
All right, Pete and Brady running down with their picks for the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. We got more picks coming your way. Pete and Brady are sticking around, but for more winning picks, make sure you check out the Early Edge podcast to get a new episode right now in your feed with best bets, NBA picks and props, bowl game picks, and so much more. Download and listen, follow wherever you get your podcasts, or you can scan that QR code on your screen. Welcome back to CBS Sports HQ, presented by Penske. We're going to get the Week 17, picks for the 4 o'clock slate. We have the Steelers, who, believe it or not, are still alive and in the hunt for a playoff spot, facing the Seahawks on CBS Sunday at 4:25. We have the Bengals and the Chiefs. Chiefs looking to bounce back. They are 7-point favorites against the Bengals. The Chargers and the Broncos, 4:25 Eastern, also on CBS. Broncos, the big news there, they are benching Russell Wilson, and we'll talk more about that coming up in just a moment. For now, we got to get the picks with Brady and Pete. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Chris Hassel. Let's talk about the Bengals and the Chiefs. It is not the Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow rivalry that we're used to seeing with these two teams. Chiefs are 7-point favorites. Do you think this is a bounce back spot for Kansas City, Brady?
No doubt about it. At home, taking on a Bengals team that's not led by Joe Burrow. And so in this spot, I think the offensive line will be improved against a defensive front in Cincinnati that, to me, doesn't have a guy like Max Crosby. Now, that's no disrespect to the guys they have. They'll have their moments because the tackle play for the Chiefs has really struggled. But the reality is we're also not going to see a trick play again that ends up in a fumble return for a touchdown and 7 seconds later a pick 6-2 by Patrick Mahomes. That very rarely ever happens. And in this case, I look at the number in 7. I think you could put this thing at 8.5, 9.5. I would still lay the points with Kansas City. They're still very much in the hunt. They're still one of the best coach-quarterback combinations in the NFL. So laying the points here, I feel good about where this Chiefs team will be, minus some of those mistakes.
Isn't Missouri the show me state? I mean,
it is.
Show me. And then I'll start believing in you, the Chiefs. They haven't showed me.
Well, you've got
anything.
a 2-game lead, so you can act like that this week.
Yeah, I'm on the other side. Believe me, I have the Bengals. I think this is going to be a tighter game. They haven't showed me anything on offense that they can actually get that thing cranked up and going, and I'm concerned about it. So I'm taking Jake Browning. I don't want to, but I'm going to. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'll take the Bengals plus the points. You like that?
I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Good. Good. That means it's a winner for me.
Pete, you said you're concerned about Kansas City. How concerned are you at this point of the season?
This late in the season, if you're having offensive issues, it's not like you can just click it and go. I don't think so. And I used to think that a month ago, we've had that conversation. I thought they would get it cranked up, and they haven't. And it's not just, the offensive line, because that's been bad. Kelsey's been dropping balls all over the place. The receivers aren't catching footballs. They're not getting open. Mahomes is pressing again. They don't run the ball.
It's a
gimmicked up crap,
It's a myriad of things. In zone coverage, they're not finding the windows the way they should be. When it's man coverage, they're not separating and getting open. We know drops have been an issue. Mistakes and penalties have been an issue. They're not running the football consistently. Offensively speaking, you can name a list of things, but the reality is this is still a team that came off, honestly, one of its worst offensive performances, I think, under the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid era. And if we really think about it, 14 points came off those 2 turnovers. The defense has been lights out. I think they get back to playing good defense, eliminate the turnovers, take care of business in this one.
Patrick's eye level's coming down a little bit. When he's coming
Yeah, I'm sure you heard them talk a lot about that, too, because that's something people talk about, Pete.
Learn the game, Brady. Yeah. If you don't get that game at 4:25 Eastern on CBS, you're going to get Chargers-Broncos. Now, Broncos still mathematically alive, but Sportsline only gives them about a 1% chance, and it's the reason why you don't see Russell Wilson up there behind Pete and Brady. What's going on here? Why are the Broncos shutting down Russell Wilson?
I mean, given the fact that they have not been eliminated and they're making this move, I think speaks volumes as to what the future holds. Clearly, the Denver Broncos organization and Sean Payton, they look at Russell Wilson as a potential trade candidate or post-June 1 release. and they will no longer have him on the roster because the contract for 2025 becomes fully guaranteed if he can't pass a physical at the beginning of the new league year in 2024. So because of how the contract is set up, they had to make a decision now to protect potentially their financial interest in the future. So I think it gives you an idea of where this thing's going. But look, for the Denver Broncos in this particular game, this matchup, they're going to run the football. Like, bottom line, I think you're getting a glimpse of what Jarrett Stidham is capable of doing. Whether he can find chemistry or not with the wide receivers is another story, but the defense has improved. I know we saw a better game from Easton Stick. I'm still going to lay the 3 points here and the home team, the Denver Broncos. I think this team takes care of business. They run the football. The Chargers have not been able to stop the run as well as Pete would like to think they have this year.
By the way, do you remember, like, early in the season, I told you when I was out there, I was hearing rumblings that they loved Jarrett Stidham?
Yeah, it took all the way to week 17, so kudos.
Okay, but you're in the playoff chase, and you're benching your quarterback. Think about that for a second.
Are you really in the chase, though?
You sort of. You're still alive, and you're benching the quarterback. And you say it's going to be for money reasons, and they're going to protect their investment. Well, why is he going to be active and suited up then? He's the backup quarterback. So it makes no sense. Either you sit him down like
it makes no sense to have him active. And by the way, we don't know that that's still going to be the case when game day comes.
If he's active, he was benched for performance, and Sean Payton's just tired of seeing bad quarterback play.
It's a bit odd, too, when you talk about performance-wise, because you look at Mahomes' numbers, you look at Mayfield's numbers, you look at Russell Wilson's numbers. They're all in the same grouping. And I think the problem is like this team has fallen victim to not really having much help out around the quarterback position. That's the case in Kansas City. It's a bit of the case here in Denver. Is this a starting quarterback, though?
You're just defending the guy who got benched. Yeah. He's been awful.
He's not been
awful. The last 4 weeks.
Last year was awful.
The last 4 weeks
he hasn't
been good the last 4 weeks, and that's why he's being benched. That's why he's being benched.
I guess we'll see if he gives them a spark.
Production has come way down.
Here's the best part is, who are you taking? You have not even given your pick yet.
Easton Stick and the Chargers. Are you kidding me?
Really?
Yeah, plus the points. I'll take the points.
Okay, but not to win.
They got rid of their coach. They're a better team.
Okay. Okay. Pete, addition by subtraction. All right, Jack.
I didn't think it would take us 40 minutes to get to the quarterback. The quarterback alarm, but here we are, Pete.
You were doing it yesterday.
I mean, at least it was a starter.
And Russell Wilson's a starter.
Not anymore, he isn't.
All right, two more teams that are still in the hunt. The Steelers and the Seahawks. The Seahawks, they are fighting for that last wild card spot in the NFC. And the Steelers, there's been a lot of drama with the effort we've seen from George Pickens. They made quite the statement against the Bengals regardless. But Sportsline's still only giving the Steelers a 14% chance to make the playoffs, Pete.
Yeah, and look, Mason Rudolph looked good, but again, he's probably going to turn into Mason Rudolph at some point. But I don't think it's going to happen here. I think he's going to play pretty well. I think Seattle.
You get 2 games, right? And there's the third game where you come back.
3 or 4, 3, and then the 4th game, or 2, and then the 3rd game. So you get either one. He's going to play well here because Seattle's defense isn't very good. I think they'll hang in the game. I have a hard time gauging Seattle. I really do. They're a hard team to figure out. But I'll take Pittsburgh to keep it within the number. I think they hang around and keep it close.
Well, clearly Seattle's going to be concerned about that guy. T.J. Watt is having himself quite the season so far. But as you talked about, I think the secondary could be vulnerable if Geno Smith gets this thing going. Clearly they're going to have a bit of the ground game too, and we'll get Kenneth Walker to be balanced. But the reality is, if this game gets off to a fast start for Seattle, I don't think Pittsburgh can keep pace. And you think Mason Rudolph will be able to follow up his performance last week? I don't see that being the case.
It won't be as good.
Tough place to play, loud environment. I think the defense steps up for Seattle. I'm going to go ahead and lay the points here with the Seahawks at home.
All right, we've picked every game. It is now time for best bets. Brady, your best bet is maybe the game of the week, maybe the game of the year in the NFL, really. It's going to decide more than likely the #1 seed in the AFC.
Baltimore Ravens come back home against the Miami Dolphins, and I think they flexed on everyone last week. And Pete can talk about, it's a big game and emotional. There's no letdown. The #1 seed is in sight. They have to win this one to have it. Lamar Jackson has to continue to play at a high level to win the MVP. All those things are still out there for them. I think they take care of business at home. Lay the points here with the Baltimore Ravens.
The post-San Francisco get beat up doesn't worry you because there's been a lot of history that shows when
they were doing a lot of beating up. That's all I know.
But when you play the 49ers the next week, a lot of teams have problems. After that.
A lot of teams who lose to the 49ers.
Yeah,
in this
a lot
case,
of teams, period, win too. I'm going anti-Gardner Minshew for my best bet. I'm taking the Raiders.
Let's go, Gardner.
I like what the Raiders are doing on defense. They look like they played with 12 guys last week. That's how fast and athletic they will be. They will make Gardner Minshew Minshew look even worse than Patrick Mahomes, I'll take the Raiders.
We're on the same side of this one, but now I'm rooting for Gardner. I'm rooting for the Colts. I hope I lose that bet. I really do.
Why?
Because you lose too.
Why? Because you're going to defend him too to next week?
Maybe. We'll see how it plays. Yeah.
All right, Pete and Brady, Week 17 picks in the NFL. For the 4 o'clock slate, the guys are on the opposite side for all of these matchups when it comes to their best bets. For Week 17, what'd you say?
They love it when they're on opposite
sides. Oh, they do love it. We love it too.
They aren't happy when they agree. And you said they don't do well when they agree.
You know what else will happen? We'll both split our games that we split, and we'll both have stinky weeks.